Shalom, peoples. How are you guys doing? Uh, I am chilling. We just spent our first night in our new home in Salaam, Tanzania, and I wanted to address something that I hear a lot of people, a lot of content creators talking about, and that is power outages and my take on power outages and do we have power outages? And yeah, we do have power outages. I think on this week alone we had two. And so, how do I feel about power outages? In the grand scheme of things, doesn't really matter. It doesn't, because when the power goes off, it's normally for a set amount of hours, maybe 2 hours, maybe 4 hours, whatever. And then the power comes back on. And if you prepare for it, you have nothing really to worry about. And it just becomes a way of life. And so, the grand scheme of things, worrying about, whether your power goes off or not, I don't think that that's as big of an issue as people make it out to be. You just have to make preparation. There's a few things you can do, to prepare, just in case you have a power outage. One thing I was doing was, normally in the U.S., what we would do is we wouldn't leave our phones charging. We would charge them in the morning. And so if you have a power outage, in the morning, then you can't charge your cell phone. And so things you can do, just whenever you get a chance, make sure your cell phone is charged. There's another thing you can do. Hold on for a second. One thing you can do is get your solar power bank. Now you can sit these things out in the sun and they're charged, and they have plugs right here for your cell phone or any small devices. And if you have these charged, when the power goes off, you'll have power. And this thing also has a flashlight. And so this is one thing we did to prepare, not necessarily for power outages, but just some things that we had. And this is, see that one. And I also have a smaller one, same concept, flashlight. Let's see here. And there's a spot where you can charge your cell phone. And so you can sit these out on a nice sunny day and watch them charge. And if you have a power outage, it won't be such a big deal. And you think about it, if you have a power outage, what can you do during that time? A lot of times we as Americans, we can get caught up in a system of running, trying to be here, be here. And sometimes we just need a time, to woosah, if you will, a time to exhale, time to take a deep breath. And so a power outage, I guess it's just your perspective on things of, whether it's good or whether it's bad. That's just how you perceive it. But I don't see, power outages as a big thing as long as you prepare, as best you can. You can't prepare for everything, but there's some, the measures you can take to kind of mitigate, like I said, mitigate, better word for that, but to prepare yourself for the situation. And so, yes, we do have them, and they happen often. And so, first when we had a power outage, the children, I think we were all home, and the lights was off, and it's kind of it was like a myth, oh, I wonder if they have power. Yeah, we had it, we dealt with it, and then the thing is, when the power is off, you really don't realize how much we're dependent on electricity, because the power is off, we know it's off, and then you'll go and turn a light switch on, or you'll try to turn something on. Well, since the power's off, let's watch TV. Well, no, you're not going to be able to watch TV because the power's off. So we're so used to these conveniences that when the power goes off, we realize how much we're dependent on those things. And really, that's not a good thing, to be dependent on anything, electricity or whatever. So my take on power outages is it really don't, in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter, you know. So just wanted to give you that tidbit. You know, power outages are true, but I mean, there's worse thing than power outages. You know, getting stopped by the police, you know, having him in your rearview mirror, not knowing if you're gonna make it home is way worse than a power outage. Yeah, it is. You know, being discriminated against, or being having someone of your own kind constantly arguing with you. You know, that's way worse than a power outage. You know, because the people over here, and not all, because you can't just speak for all, but it's a big sense of community. You know, it's a big sense of love. You know, everyone I see is my brother. You know, we call him a kaka. Kaka means brother. And a lot of times they treat you as such. You know, people will tell us that, you know, Africans hate us. You know, they hate us. And a lot of that is just misinformation. You know, talk to them. You know, a lot of times, you know, a guy will walk by and he had that look on his face. I was like, man, and he muggy, like, man, don't be mugging me, whatever, whatever. But if you speak, they'll smile and wave, and a lot of times when people look at you like that, I was told by a local that it's more of an amazement. You know, they see an American, you know, they've heard about us, you know, and they've been told stories about us. That to actually see one, you know, it puts some people in a state of awe. And coming from America, when we see people staring at us like that, you know, we don't like it. It's like, okay, what is he trying to do? This, that, and the other. You know, we've been raised around, you know, aggression, you know, and not just you, but me as well. And so I don't like when people stare at me, but now that I have a better understanding, you know, of why they're doing it, you know, it's not so bad. A lot of times I just speak, hey, how you doing? And they'll smile and come up and shake your hand and might even hug you. And so Africans don't hate us, you know. So that's all. I'm getting to ranting, you know, going on. I can go on for days about, you know, my experience here, but I appreciate you for tuning in to my channel. And if you get anything out of this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. Hit the bell notifications. My goal is to post every day, and a lot of times I leave the the mistakes in the videos to let you know that I am a human being. But I will try to post every day and give people a true view of what Africa is really like. So with that being said, shalom, peace. Go on and subscribe to the channel, fam. I don't know of any content creator that is going to give you content every single day.